Starting event.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Reseller Show. My name's Andy Lawrence.
And my name is Kev Blackburn.
And we're here once again on a Monday evening live for another Reseller Show. Hope you're doing all right, guys, and we're just about ready to go. Sorry, we're a couple of minutes on the drag this evening. We've had some few issues, but we're here and ready to go now. How you doing, Kev?
Yeah, really, really good. Episode 17, I've just checked. Looking forward to another week of the Reseller Show. Can see that there's Sean's in tonight. Who else is here with us live this evening? Really excited about this tonight's show. How's your week started, Andy?
It's been good. It's been good, mate. Yep, pretty busy with the wholesale domination course students and getting all that working, as well as juggling my own business as well. So it's hectic but good fun. You know, that's the main thing.
That's it. That's what it's all about, right? So, I guess for you guys that are maybe watching this back later on in the recording, just a quick one, just to say that if you ever want to join us live on Monday evening, you can do. I think the link is resellershow.com/live. Is that right, Andy?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. You can more than welcome to join us, and we just enjoy hanging out with you guys and chatting about everything to do with the reseller community. Sam's going a video unavailable issue, which is not good. Hopefully that's not for the same for everyone. If everyone can hear us and see us okay, if you could just let us know in the chat, just so we know we're broadcasting all right, that would be helpful.
Yeah, that would be helpful. What we're looking at the minute, guys, is we're trying to see whether it goes directly to YouTube. If it does, not entirely sure. So, is it on YouTube right now? I'm seeing that. Okay. Yeah, we're live on YouTube.
Okay. So that's interesting. It didn't. The webinar jam link is not working, but it does seem to be okay via the YouTube channel. All right, guys. So sorry about that. Might have to make some modifications, but if you can flit over to the Reseller Show on YouTube, then obviously you can get in the chat there. But some teething issues, but we'll get it sorted. I'm sure.
We'll get it sorted. I'm just looking at the YouTube live stream here. I think it's actually private, so I'm not entirely sure how that works. But that's why we're testing in real time with you guys this evening. But we'll see.
Yeah, it might be private until the video recording's finished, and then it gets uploaded onto the channel. So not entirely sure how that works, but Simon says he can see it on YouTube. So hopefully that's the way to do it. But so how's your week been last week, Kev? Hopefully productive and fruitful for you.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy, to be honest. I had the mastermind and the event over the weekend, so my week started last Monday, so I've not had a day off at all this week, which is fine. I absolutely love what I do, so I had a fantastic event. Got to meet loads of people over the last couple of days, which has been amazing, and it's just fantastic to see so many people in this business model and making this work. Like there's so many people getting started, getting their first sales. There's some people quit their jobs. There's some really optimism around the reseller community, and that's why I think it's a fantastic time to be a part of it.
Absolutely, yeah. There's still so much more to go with Amazon and what it's capable of doing. So it's always good to see people making moves and expanding on the platform. So it's been good. So shall we cover some news while we're getting started?
Is there any news to talk about this week, Andy, that you've seen?
Thanks for backing it back over to me, Kev. I appreciate that. I love it. So I would say, Kevin Blackburn, that the biggest news for this week is the whole Amazon Germany debacle with the VAT registration and all that fun and games. So that's the main thing. There's been a lot of talk in the groups and messages going backwards and forwards from Amazon to do with their news that that some people are saying you have to be VAT registered in Germany. Some people say you just need a tax certificate. Some people say that you can't and that you can no longer trade from the beginning of the year. Some people say it's March, other people say August. So there's an awful lot of ambiguity going around about the whole state of trading in Germany. So where do you stand on that? Have you had much time to look into that at the moment, Kev?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that's going to happen over the next couple of months that I don't think anybody really knows the full effect of Brexit. I know, obviously, we started 2019 with this Amazon coming out saying you need this certificate and then VAT, and there's a lot of confusion because I think accounting and the legal side of business can be quite confused. Excuse me, can be quite confusing anyway. So where I stand on all this is I've not had a chance to look at any of it really. I've not dig down deep into any of it. I've not really thought about Brexit up until this point, until something like comes out and it's like you can no longer sell here, or you've now got to be VAT registered in Spain to sell there, or whatever ends up happening with Brexit and this issue in Germany. I think there's just a lot of confusion at the minute, and I really do believe that Amazon need to come out and make this really clear for people.
Absolutely.
Because
this is the issue, Kev. To be honest with you, they're quite good at this, where depending on which support person you speak to, you'll get a different answer, and their favorite answer tends to be speak to your tax advisor or your accountant, which is not particularly useful because they won't necessarily have any additional help as it's quite a unique situation. But they're quite happy to say, to give you this, you may need this, you may need that, but there's no hardline sort of rule about it yet, which is not, to be honest, very useful at all. I have read something to say you don't necessarily have to be VAT registered, that you just need a tax certificate, and another thing to say that ultimately that will mean that you will need to be VAT registered. So it's really not helpful. It's not helpful at the moment, and I know that a lot of people are at the moment just turning their Germany revenue line off just because they don't know and they're worried and they don't really understand what's happening. So they're just actually cutting the connection just to save the aggro, which is understandable because it is a difficult thing to get your head around. And at the moment, I haven't seen enough to know. I certainly couldn't give any advice on it at the moment. I haven't seen one sort of definite line because everyone has their own idea at the moment. So I think we will need we need some clarification from Amazon really to know exactly what the situation is there, to be sure, because it's not helpful. You're just causing more questions than answers at the moment. So it's not ideal, but hopefully we'll get a clarification and we can let you guys know when we find out ourselves. But it's not very useful.
No, it's not useful at all. And unfortunately, you don't want to do it. We're not in this business to do something illegal. Like we're just honest people trying to build a business. So I can understand why people would turn their channels off, because obviously you don't want to inadvertently do something wrong and then you get a letter through the door, you get a notification through, and you're saying that you've done something wrong and now you have to do this or you now have to do that. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty at the minute when it comes to the taxes side of things, Brexit side of things right now. But I think there's no right or wrong answer what you do at this moment. I think it's more of an individual choice. If you feel like, okay, I just want to turn it off and figure out later on, then maybe you do that. In the meantime, hopefully somebody at Amazon at some point will come out with saying just sort of clear cut, like, do this, or you can't do this, and this is the thing that I've always said about Amazon. I think they're absolutely amazing, but in many ways, or in all ways, they are in control. So they can see, or they should be able to see, right, if it's a legal requirement for anybody to have some type of certificate saying that, or some type of registration number or whatever in your account, then they could turn your account off on your behalf and take that out of your control. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the one thing where I wish Amazon would be able to have some type of, I don't know, some type of seller liaison department where it's a little bit like, what's the mood like right now? Okay, this is our major issue. Let's resolve it. Let's make it better for us.
Yeah, they should spend more time on doing that and making sort of policies. When you get it to this point, they should see this sort of thing coming, liaise with the German government, find a very specific line and produce a document to say A, B, and C, this is your situation. And they don't, and it really doesn't help. But yeah, let's just keep our fingers crossed that there will be so many questions going into Amazon that they'll realize it's a major issue, and the person who should have done a better job at the beginning will actually say, okay, let's get some clarification. This often happens with Amazon. They put out a useless email, everyone says what the hell's going on, and then later on they produce another email clarifying things. So hopefully it will be this sort of a situation where they actually take the time to clarify the situation and let us know exactly what's going on. But moving on from that for a second, another piece of interesting news that was actually shared by our good friend Luke Pastor in the UK Book Flipper Community Facebook group, which is very interesting, which I think will affect us all, is at the moment, I don't know whether it will be for the same reasons, because it's actually an European Union press release about how digital platforms treat their resellers, which is great. But obviously we are coming out of Europe, so whether it covers us later on when we're no longer in Europe, I don't know. But this is where Europe definitely helps us by setting down these very sort of good regulations where they realize something isn't working and they put something in place. So this was something that I definitely thought was well needed, really, in our community. So basically, what it is they're just trying to stop platforms like eBay and Amazon doing whatever the hell they want. Basically, they'll put a sort of like a proper official process in place that you can't just ban someone and not explain why, or take away their way of income without very good reason. Basically, this is what they're trying to put in place, which is good to see. So it's what they're calling it, a ban on certain unfair practices. So no more sudden unexplained account suspensions with new rules. Digital platforms can no longer suspend or terminate a seller's account without clear reasons and possibilities to appeal. And the platform will also have to reinstate sellers if a suspension was made in error. Plain and intelligible terms and advance notice for changes. Terms and conditions must be easily available and provided in plain, intelligible language. So there's a lot of things put down to really make it easy for people to understand where they stand. And I think we'll have less of these horror stories where someone's making a good business and then all of a sudden they get turned off and there's no real explanation as to why. And, in this day and age, online selling is a big part of a lot of people's lives. And it's unfair that one person like Amazon or one group like Amazon could have such a detrimental effect on people's businesses and their livelihood. So this is definitely a timely thing and an important thing that, one company, one sort of privately owned company shouldn't be able to just click a switch and turn people's livings on and off like that. So this is good news, I think. And it might be that because they have to do it for the rest of Europe, they may actually adopt it for the UK as well. So hopefully they do that, because I have heard anecdotal, I've not seen any evidence, but I've heard a lot of stories about people not doing anything wrong and just having their account kicked off and not reinstated and given no real reason, having money tied up and all sorts of scary stories. So I think this is it's needed, it's necessary, and hopefully it will make us be able to sleep in our beds that little bit easier, knowing that in future there will be a much more regulated approach to the suspensions, and there will be a clear timeline of things that you can do, and a proper, almost like an independent complaints authority where you can actually put a complaint out there and say, I don't think this is fair, this is the reason. They would have to give clear reasons why this has happened. So I think that's really important, and which means in future, as long as you do everything right and you don't openly flout the laws that Amazon puts down, I think hopefully we'll see the back of these random reasons that you get chucked off. And if you do get suspended, I think there'll be a much higher chance that you can go through this procedure and get your account reinstated in good time. So there'll be less of this pleading and waiting and hoping something happens, but nobody really knows what's happening because it goes into a big dark black hole and you slip through the net, and there seems to get nobody there that actually does anything. I think this will put in place a much more robust appeal system, and that's really needed. So that's pretty pleased with the news coming through from Europe. It just is a good example how Europe is a good place for this type of thing. They've got our backs when it comes to this type of thing, and I really hope we don't miss out too much on that in the UK, and we're not penalised as a result of it. But, good
and I think you've just summarised that brilliantly there, Andy. I think you covered all aspects. I completely agree with everything you said. I do think it's a necessary policy for you cannot have somebody being able to just turn off a business that it don't matter what level you're at. At the end of the day, this is about people's lives, people's money, and you can't have your hands in control of somebody that it's not as well regulated, that they can just turn it off. And then you may have employees, you might have your own life depends on it, or you could have a warehouse, you could have many things. So I think that's great news. I think obviously we don't know how it's all going to pan out later, but I think that's fantastic news. And just as you was answering that really well, this is the first time, just for you guys that are currently watching this on YouTube, this is the first time that we're streaming this directly to YouTube, so I can see while Andy was talking that all you guys are in the chat right here, which is fantastic. And also I can see this is what we're doing. We're testing in real time and it's live. I can see now that it is unlisted right now, Andy, so I can turn it to public and see what happens. So talk about testing in real time. That's what we do. So so now I can see where you guys are all got the comments. I can see there's obviously Sean, there's Sam here, Simon, you're all here. Jerry, it's great to see you all. So I suppose I can go back and just ask a couple of these questions that you guys have got here. Andy, are you going to is Andy going to Lincoln on the 6th of April, leaving his holiday early? That's from Sean.
I am. How did you know? I am, Sean. I'm going to be in South Africa along that period, and I was due to come back about Sunday or Monday, something like that. And Kev said, "I want you to come and speak at the Secret Wealth Project event." I looked at the dates and thought, I'm going to be in South Africa, but I really wanted to come. There's a lot of people going to be there. You're going to be there, Kev. Luke's going to be there. I haven't seen him in a while. It'd be good to see him. And then obviously a load of the attendees that we both know. It was going to be, something I was really looking forward to. So I said, no, I'm going to change the flight. It nearly cost me as much to change the flight as I paid for the flight in the first place.
Wow.
But this is what happens. They make you pay for it if you change your flight details. But yeah, I changed it, and I'm going to arrive on Friday evening. I think Friday evening back into the UK. I'm going to get off the flight in Gatwick or Heathrow. I'm going to directly drive up directly to Lincoln with all my bags, jump in the room, sleep overnight, and then we'll be on the next morning. So yes, it's pretty tight, but I've made it work, so that's the main thing. Yeah,
well, for you guys that are not aware what Sam's talking about here, there's going to be the first ever online arbitrage UK summit, where there's going to be a full day of a load of speakers. There's going to be myself there. There's going to be Andy there. There's going to be a number of people there, like Karen. There's Matt. There's Luke. There's going to be a number of people there that I think it's going to be a great day just to, one, meet each other. So if you want to come and hang out with me and Andy, it's going to be a great day just to chat and to meet each other and network, but also to see the individual speeches. So it's going to be like valuable in terms of content, but also valuable in terms of networking. So you're going to learn obviously all about Wholesale from Andy. No doubt I'm going to talk all things virtual assistants and systemization. There's going to be Luke there. There's going to be so many speakers there. It's going to be a full jam-packed day. I'm looking forward to it. I've got the hotel booked already. Should be good. Should be fun. Plus, it's only down the road from me, so I don't have to travel too far.
Are you staying, Kev? Or are you going to go home? Have you decided yet? Oh, you said you've got.
I'm staying. Yeah, staying. I'm going to be traveling down first thing in the morning, and then we're actually going to be there all night. So I really value spending time with other people. Like I wasn't going to just turn up for the event and then go home. I just feel like when you've got so many awesome people all together, when you've got people from all walks of the journey and where everybody is, I think it's just great just to be in that, because you, like I really do believe, just that one idea or that one conversation or that one encounter that you wouldn't normally have because you're at home, you're in front of the computer, a lot of the times you're by yourself. That one insight from somebody else, from face to face, drinking a cup of coffee or something, could make all the difference in the journey that you're on. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope everybody's there and got the tickets, because I believe that the tickets are increasing right now.
Yeah.
The closer we get. So the earlier you take action, the better. And I need to do some promo as well for it, to be fair.
Yeah, I do too, I must admit. No, it's going to be good. Any chance, as you say, any chance to get together is always good. But in this sort of scenario where there's a lot of people in the community that we already know, it's a good excuse to get together and network. And as you say, sometimes it's crazy how one conversation and one suggestion can make such a difference. And like when we got together at your place, at your warehouse, Kev, and we had a great day, and meeting Matt, and some of his suggestions with me has really made a difference. I've taken action on what he suggested I should do, which is great, because sometimes you're too close to what you do. Sometimes it's very helpful for someone else to come in and say, maybe you should do this, maybe that would be really good. And you think, yeah, maybe I should do that. That's, I hadn't thought about that. So as you say, just one thing can make a big difference sometimes. So I definitely agree with that. It's, and if you haven't been to an event like this, you'll think, why didn't I do it sooner? Because everyone that comes to my events is always, always really happy with the opportunity to learn more about the business, and also just meeting other people as well. And I always get people say to me, I'm looking forward to coming back next year. I can't wait until the next one. It's been really good. And that's the sort of feedback you get at these things, just because, getting together is really powerful. So yeah.
And what you just said there about there's a real good book that I want to recommend to all you guys, and it's called U Squared. U Squared with a little 2. And what this book is all about, it's all about quantum leaps in life and business. It's like, it applies to all walks of life, really. It's only a small little book, so do check it out. It's only a small little read, but basically what U Squared is all about, and it gives a really good metaphor for this, right? So if you imagine in the summer, you've got like a fly trying to get out the window, right? So this fly is trying to get out the window, and it's just like banging its head up against this window, right? It gets to a point where it's banging itself, trying to get out the window as so much, it ends up killing itself, right? Ends up killing itself. Where if it had just looked back, stepped back, it would have seen that there's a window open just above from where they are. Yeah. So if it had just taken a moment, it would have just been able to fly out the window. And that metaphor has really stuck with me in terms of like you building your business or you doing anything really where you are like, I'm doing this, I'm on it, I'm like, I know what I'm doing is right. But then sometimes somebody can just go, well, hang on a minute, have you actually thought of just like tweaking that just a little bit? Or have you just, instead of, sometimes you don't need to go forward, you need to go sideways. Do you know what I mean? So what you've just said there is really good. And that's where a quantum leap can happen in your life.
Huge.
So a quantum leap in terms of a radical change in, and this actually took me down the road of, for example, like using a virtual assistant instead. It was like, oh, it's instead of me just banging my head up against something, if I just use a virtual assistant, that's like a sideways step and a quantum leap. So, you know, it's obviously, that's just a couple of examples that I've just tried to give, but if you just take a moment and just think about that, just like do some journaling or just take a step back and review your business, you may find somewhere that you can have a quantum leap.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. What you say, take a step back. I think that's what going to events and this sort of thing actually enables you to do, because there's not often where you would go to a situation and just spend the entire day thinking about your business and thinking about different techniques and different strategies, because most of us are Amazon sellers and most of us are on the platform doing different strategies, but it gives you an opportunity to really sit and think, and that's when these different things will come to you, and this and you hear from someone else, and even in the bar afterwards listening to how other people do it. And as you say, it can be in any respect, whether it's just an element of your processing or something that someone say, oh no, well, I found it's easier to do it like this, and you think that sounds easy. You go home, implement it, and you could save 20% of the time you spend every day because you found a new way of doing it, and you wouldn't have known that unless you'd spent the time with these people. So for sure, it's I always learn. You know, I put on the events and I always learn something new every year when I put on the FBA Academy events, because there's someone there that will come up with something that I haven't thought about. And I've been doing this for a long time, but there's always, this is the thing, people bring new strengths from other other areas that can always progress our industry and make things better and quicker and more efficient and more profitable. So it's always evolving. There's always something new to learn, and that's what I love about it. It's great. You know, I can't say anything more than that. It's just well worth doing. So yeah,
definitely.
I'm certainly flying across the other side of the world to come and do it. So I think that's if you're in the UK, then you've got no excuse.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm always looking down here because I've got the YouTube chat here, right? So because things are always because this is the first time we're doing this, I was like, right, we need to figure out how we're going to get the chat on our screen so we know who's about and what we're talking about. So I'm just reading through this chat here. Let me just have a look here. Sean, what if I leave my job in April and stakes drop due to Brexit? Sorry, Sean. Hoping to quit my job in April, but trying to hold for redundancy as Grantham camp is closing. Worked there for 20 years. What if I leave my job in April and stakes drop due to, or sales drop due to Brexit? What if, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's a tricky one. I don't think Brexit will be a major issue unless a massive part of your business is through Europe. I don't know about you, Kev, but the majority of my sales are through the UK, and I have a much smaller percentage going through Europe. Not much at all, because of all the hassle and the costs involved. I keep my additional percentage quite high to make sure it's actually worthwhile doing, which means obviously I'm going to be a lot more expensive than anyone who's locally selling those items. So, you know, I have a much smaller percentage in Europe. So if there was any of a problem, it would be disappointing, but not business affecting in any way. You know, I don't think it would be too much of an issue. If I decided to close Germany as a result of what's going on at the moment, it would not massively affect my business. It would be disappointing, but it would not cause me to have any real sleepless nights. And you know, I don't think it's going to be a massive deal. I really don't. I think it will be a storm in the teacup. They need to get this sorted out there will be procedures, it will be sorted, and life will carry on. So obviously in your situation, there is a lot to think about. Your life is changing and you need to think about these things, but all I can say is I don't think it will be an issue. So ultimately, if you're starting thinking about going online full time, that's always going to be a consideration, because regardless of Europe, you've got to have that what if situation and that conversation with yourself. What would you do? And I would certainly give that some thought and think about plan B. And it's good to have a plan B. What if you can't produce enough money to sustain you on Amazon, or something happens and you're not making as much money as you were, then what can you do? Do you have a backup plan? Can you get a job? Maybe you can get a job relatively quickly. In the meantime, maybe you can jump in with a temp agency and get things started up again pretty quickly. It's good to have a few ideas about what you would do potentially, just so you don't have to try and panic and think if it does happen. But I think you feel a lot better if you've got a few ideas of the worst case scenario, and then you can move on expecting the best case scenario. But I would definitely have something in place to say, okay, well, I've given it this much time. I'm confident it's going to work. If something untoward happens, I can always just grab another job. I think we're relatively lucky in the UK that if you need some money just to pay the bills, you can pick up something. You can work in a supermarket or at a restaurant and get yourself some money coming in to make sure the bills are paid. There are a lot of countries around the world that any job is very hard to come by. So I think mostly around the country, we're relatively lucky that you can do that. So I won't worry too much, but obviously it's your own personal situation. You know how much you need to make the business work, to get the bills paid and pay the mortgage or pay the rent. So you need to think about that and make sure you've got that in place. And if you've got a little bit of money behind you as a bit of a parachute fund, that will help. It's always good to have a little bit of money put aside for a rainy day or an emergency. If you can't earn any money and you've got 3 or 4 months money's worth of bills sat beside you, then you've got some time to have breathing space to do something about it. So yeah, definitely think about it. But I'd put some things in place if you can, and otherwise just get on with it and make sure you work hard and make sure your business is earning enough to make it work. But I don't know if you've got any other ideas, Kev.
Well, to be honest with you, the only thing that Brexit has done for me up until this point for the past sort of 2 years is it's weakened the pound, which means in terms of the dollar and paying virtual assistants, my costs have gone up. That's the only thing that that Brexit has done for me at the moment. So in terms of, I don't think Brexit is going to have an effect on your UK based Amazon sales, to be honest with you. I just don't think that that's going to be the case. Like, people in UK are still going to purchase in the UK. I'm very much the same as Andy. Like, all my EU channels, I could turn them all off right now if I wanted to, and it would not like do or die my business. It wouldn't even have an effect on it, to be honest, because I see the EU sales more as a bonus, just simply because the markup on all the products is so big because of the fees and things. Anything I do sell is just a bonus. So it's one of those things where you can't ever predict the future. It's like saying, what if Amazon suspend my account in May and I've just quit my job in April? It's just so difficult. You can't predict anything. So in your case, Sean, what I would say is, if you're holding out you've been in your job now for 20 years, that's awesome. And now you're gonna get this chance to be like working for yourself. Just go all in, just like you are right now. I think it's just I think we're just so young right now in terms of what the potential is. I genuinely believe that, because I was actually talking yesterday at the mastermind that I had here in the warehouse. We were talking about Amazon and where they're heading, and they're absolutely heading worldwide. Like, we are going to be, mark my words, within the next 5 to 10 years. I don't know at what point Amazon will do this, but we will be able to be sat in the UK, in the small little town that I'm in right now, and I could put something for sale, and then somebody in Australia will be able to purchase it, or somebody in Kenya will be able to purchase it, or somebody in Antarctica will be able to purchase it. You know, maybe not there because I don't think there's anybody there, but you know,
it's not a big audience. It's not a big audience.
No, I don't think they're opening any fulfillment centers in Antarctica. But you get my point.
Yeah.
I do genuinely believe there will come a time where Amazon US, EU, India, there's going to be Amazon Africa. There's going to be they're going to open up and I think they're already starting it. They're already hinting. I think I got an email the other day about worldwide trading. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think that's absolutely going to happen. You know, once upon a time, they were only in the UK or in wherever they opened their first fulfillment centers. And now you can sell across all in Europe. So there's only a matter of time. And I think we're in a good position to build the businesses now, go through all the challenging times, what is VAT, how do I do this, how do I do that? And then when the time does come where there's still a lot of the population of the world that don't have the internet, as they start to come online, and then all of a sudden, believe it or not, there will be a large proportion of people that still not ever heard of Amazon before because they've not had access to the internet, they don't know. It's all going to change the game. So we are absolutely in a great place. That's why we're living in a fantastic era to make something of yourself, where somebody, I know me, I come from a very humble background. There's no silver spoon over here. It's like somebody from nothing can make it. Do you know what I mean? And I just think that's so inspiring. And if that doesn't give you like hope, like I'm going to give this a shot, then that's it. Do you know what I mean? So that's my take on it all. Anyway, that's why I never think, what if Brexit? What if suspension? What if that? I'm just like, if anything happens, I'll resolve it and I'll move on. Do you know what I mean?
That's the way to be. Yeah, I think it's a great approach, Kev. You need to be mindful of it. You need to think about what could happen, and so you're prepared if it does. But at the same time, don't dwell on it too much, because I don't think it's that particularly healthy either. So yeah, I think it's definitely a good way to think about it.
Simon said, "Have either of you got tax certificates? Have you got the tax certificate, Andy?"
I haven't.
I haven't.
It's like someone asking, "Have you done your homework?" It's like, I haven't done it. I haven't done it. I left it on the bus. I left it on the bus, Simon. No, I haven't dealt with it yet, I must admit. Until I see a definitive idea of what needs to be done, I haven't actually actioned anything yet. So I'm still waiting for clarification of what exactly needs to be done. I think the tax certificate is probably going to be the thing that is required, because that is the one that is consistently being talked about. The issue then is whether it is all required VAT, whether VAT registration in Germany is 100% required. Some people are saying yes, some people are saying no. So this is what I need to see a little bit more clarification on, and I think Amazon need to step up and be a lot clearer about what needs to be done, and then we can all move on in a more uniform way. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what turns up. Ultimately, it will all be very clear eventually. They have to they have to let us know what to do properly to be able to do it. So ultimately, that's what they need to do. And at the moment, I don't think they have a clear clue about what they're doing yet. So I think they need to get clarification, probably from the German government or from the tax office in Germany, and they need clarification, and then they'll probably bring it to us. That's what I would guess is happening, because at the moment their answer to most things is consult your tax advisor or your accountant. But like I said earlier, that's no good if they don't know what's happening either. So yeah, we need to wait and see, I think, to a certain extent. But yeah, I'm worried too much about that. What else? We've got some more questions coming up. I love this new the YouTube chat. It's quite cool to be able to do this.
Yeah. Jerry, that name, the legislation that you mentioned there, Have you got a link to that we can put into the reseller Facebook group a little bit later on?
Yep, I can do
Yeah,
that. And we'll
do that, Jerry, and then you'll be able to get it there.
Yeah, and we'll put that link in the show notes if anyone's listening back to the podcast. We'll do that as well. Yeah, okie dokie. So Jerry says Cynthia G. Stein has written a book called Suspension Prevention. Gives a really big eye-opener on how Amazon just shut down businesses without any warning. Thanks for excellent reading. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard a lot of horror stories, Jerry, that's for sure, over the years. I've even heard of Amazon playing games, finding an Amazon seller doing particularly well, and then finding where they're getting the stuff from, taking over that supplier and then shutting them down. I mean, whether they are as callous as that, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's happened in the past. And hopefully these European legislation to come in will hopefully put a stop to any of the cowboy antics that may or may not have gone on in the past, because, it's just that's not business as far as I'm concerned. That's just bullying and abuse of power. So hopefully there'll be more, how can I say, there'll be more traceability and responsibility from Amazon's side of things. So yeah, hopefully that will be
Simon mentioned here, did you see that Amazon are hosting a webinar on fulfillment centers and doing a live Q&A? That's interesting. I didn't actually see that. Having said that, I've been so busy this last week, it's been crazy. But I would love for Simon, would you be able to share with us where you got that information from? Was it through your seller account email? Did they send an email out? Or was it on Seller Central, for example? Was it like a notification? Love to, and I'm not entirely sure what that will be fully about. But it might be interesting, some interesting viewing. So, especially the live Q&A bit, who's Amazon? Like, who is it going to be?
Yeah,
Jeff himself.
Jeff jumps on live from his door desk in his garage.
Jeff's not bothered.
He's too busy taking over the world. So I got to hang out with Simon the other day at the Spring Fair, as well as yourself, Kev. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Actually, it's good to catch up.
It was really good, and this is why, as time goes on, there's going to be more opportunities to catch up, and we'll meet up, and it's just great. Like I know it's great doing this. I think we've said it many times. It's great doing this and catching up virtually on a Monday evening, but there's nothing quite like just spending a day with each other and just hanging out. So awesome.
No, that's good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We managed to grab some dinner as well. I know you had to get off with the family and whatnot, which is fair enough. But we managed to grab some dinner with Stephen as well. Stephen was over there and Mandy. So we had a good had a bit of a mini meetup dinner. So that was nice.
Yeah. Sean, keep this on YouTube, please, as I can't get it on my work browsers. Prefer YouTube. So you may have noticed we had a little bit of difficulty earlier on, and that is due to we changed it so it just goes directly out onto YouTube. Hence why it's now we're all live on YouTube now. But just like anything, there's always going to be some teething issues. But in future, from now on, I think what will happen is we will have it come directly out onto YouTube. So I don't know how it works on the back end of things in terms of how you are notified, but you should probably get a notification. If you do, press the little bell if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, that'd be great. Press the little bell and you should see us pop up live. If you're listening to back on the podcast, the podcast we will still get it from this episode and publish out on the Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. So the podcast won't change. We'll continue to do that. It's just more of the YouTube. It's now streaming live, so everybody can just join whenever they want to join on YouTube.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think it will make it more accessible for more people who happen to just be through on YouTube and find us. So that's going to be useful. I just jumped onto my YouTube on my phone here, and it came straight up at the top as live streaming. So it obviously is working in that way. It seems to be working fine. So so the best way to do that, if you make sure you subscribe with the bell icon, that will definitely give you a notification next time we're live. That will be the easiest way to do it. But yeah, it's always fun experimenting with these different platforms, and yeah, it's an easier way to look at the comments as well, like that, especially with the phone. So Sean also said something. He had a question about wholesale. Let's see if I can find it. How much do you need to save up to do wholesale? More money you pay, cheaper the products, isn't it? Okay, so again, this is a fairly well covered topic when it comes to wholesale. Everyone wants to know how much you need, and it's very difficult because you can find some suppliers that will have minimum orders of £200. Other suppliers might have 50 quid or 100. Other suppliers 5,000, 10,000 pounds. So it depends who you start off with. Depends how much cash flow you want. Obviously, if you make one order of £250, you then have to sit there and wait until you sell those products before you can engage more. So obviously, the more the merrier is the unfortunately boring answer to that one. If you have £5,000 buying budget, it's going to be a lot easier for you to make several £250 to £500 orders than it would be as if you had maybe £500 to £1,000. You might only be able to make a few orders. So you know, that's what it comes down to. The more money you have in your buying budget, the more buying decisions you can make, the more money you stand to earn. So the bigger your buying budget, the better. It's as simple as that. If you can afford to reinvest your profits over a period of time, then your business is going to be a lot more stable and a lot more easier to expand if you have more money at your disposal. So that's what it comes down to, really. It stands to reason. So yeah, that's the boring and slightly unuseful answer, is as much as possible.
Yeah, but I think that I can see why people always ask that question, because I certainly ask that question too. Because you always think that wholesale's that, like, I can't get there until I've got like £50,000 in the bank. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why. I don't know why people think that. I certainly thought that, but as soon as you go to a trade show and you talk to somebody, it's like, oh yeah, minimum order quantity of £150. All of a sudden you're like, oh,
I can do that. Yeah.
Do you know, do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's definitely accessible. Obviously, there's just the difficulty comes is the whole opening the account or getting the account in the first place, where wholesale is like business to business, retailer is more like retail to customer. So you know, you can go to any store and they'll sell to you because they don't care if you're in a warehouse, a shop, or a house. They're not bothered. Whereas a wholesaler may, you know, they prefer you to be in a brick and mortar sort of, maybe a store or a warehouse. And that that will always help. But yeah, to get started, Sean, that's all. That's what it comes down to. Get going. Just do it.
Learn on the job. Yeah, go through the motions and find out as you go.
Exactly, because you've thanks for sharing a little bit about your story, Sean. I really appreciate that. It's been working at Grantham since you left school. You're only 37 now, still young. Wished I had taken massive action years ago, as I have potential to earn more on Amazon than in your employed job now. But this is the thing, right? So a lot of people would say, like, oh, I wish I learned this opportunity years before. Like, I said the same thing, like, oh, God, I learned about this opportunity when I was like 26 years old. I wish I learned when I was 18, and where would I be? But like, life happens in mysterious ways. It happens for a reason. So whatever skills you've picked up over the last 20 years, they will apply in your business now. And I can say that just from my own personal experience. If I'd learned about Amazon when I was 20 years old, I wouldn't have the skills that I developed from 20 to 25 becoming an engineer. So it's wherever you are, whether you are 18 years old or 85 years old, like, it doesn't matter at what point you get the opportunity. Life can change massively. And let me just share with you a very, very inspirational story about a a 15-year-old that he wasn't here yesterday, but his father was here yesterday at the warehouse, and he was talking to me about, oh, his son's doing really, really well. And I was thinking his son might be in his 20s, his 30s. And he went on to say that his son has built a £250,000 business, right? And I was like, wow, that's fantastic. That's really, really good. That's amazing. And then I was like, well, what does your son do now? Like, where is he? He was like, well, he's 15 years old. He's 15 years. He's 15. He is 15 years old. He's actually been featured in Forbes. 15 years old. I was like, it was just, you know, it's like, it's just it's incredible to me. And then I was like, oh my God, I need to learn, and I need to have a conversation with your son, because like, that's incredible. But anyway, the reason why I want to share that, it doesn't matter whether you are 15, 37, 49, 99 turning 100, you can still do this. And it's amazing how quickly your life can change. Like, you know, Andy, you've been doing this for over a decade at this point, and your life has absolutely changed, but your life can change within a year. You know, I was able to quit my job with the actions within 6 months. Now, I'm not saying anybody can, you know, obviously it's all subjective, everybody's different, disclaimer, like can't promise anything or anything, but, you know, everybody's got their own ideas of why they want to do this, what situation you find yourself in, and it's really down to you. Like, it doesn't matter where you are right now. If you've got the internet, if you've got a home where you can get things delivered to you, and if you've got the reasons enough to take action every day, you can make it happen. And then, because you're building a life that you want to live in your own terms, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Like, who cares? It might take you 6 months, it might take you 6 years, but if it took you 6 years, if it took you 15 years, I tell you, by the time you get to the 16th year and you've done it, it'll be worth it. Do you know what I mean? That's how I think.
Yeah. You can't really look back in the past and say, I wish I'd done it earlier, because as you say, everything that you've done before has brought you to where you are right now. And you're a really good example, Kev, because you've really lent on the skills you've learnt over your time training as an engineer, and it's really stood you in good stead. So if you wish that away and said, I wish I'd done it when I was younger, you wouldn't have had the same skills to do that. You know, you'd have been a younger person. It would have maybe taken a lot longer. You might not have gone down the scaling with VAs route and this, that, and the other. So, you know, I think life has a habit of showing us the way when we're ready. And it doesn't matter what age you are. It really doesn't. When you're ready to take the leap, that's when you do it. You know, when you hear, this is totally unrelated, but it is kind of connected. When you hear people giving up smoking and things like this, you know, people always ask, how did you quit? How did you quit? And the people that will usually, a lot of the time, will say, you know what, I just decided that I didn't want to do it anymore. I'd had enough, so I just stopped, you know. And a lot of the people maybe have tried quitting before in the past, and they couldn't, even with different techniques, they couldn't do it because they weren't really ready to. They knew they should, but they weren't really ready to. And something clicks in their mind, and it's like, whatever it is, however you describe it, they just like, I've had enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm ready now to stop. And it's easy for them because they've made that decision. They actually want to. And when you're clear in your mind, and that's the time, everything just falls into place. It has a habit of making sense at the right time, when before maybe you might have had all the ducks in a row, but for some reason you weren't ready to do that or face that and whatever. So yeah, I think everything has its own time and its place. So I'm definitely a big believer of that. So yeah, just be happy that you found it and grab it with both hands. That's what I would say. And now is exactly the right time for you to do that right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And massive action. I love it.
Yeah.
Keep us posted, Sean, on how things go. Because you know, this is a community. You know, we love to share each other's journey. And you've obviously got the Facebook group, and you know, if you need any support at any time, if anybody needs any support at any time, the Facebook group's there. Me and Andy are in there, and we can definitely help out as much as we possibly can. So, yeah, exactly. Simon says he got an email. He'll post it in the group, so that that webinar come through email. So most likely it's in the email inbox. Just search your, I don't know what the title would be, but the subject line might be something to do with webinar fulfillment centers or something.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see what they've got to say about the current situation. Simon said, hosted by Kenny Kramer, FBA UK Operations Manager, apparently. Well, we should get Kenny on and do put him on our webinar and see what he's got to say. Ask him about tax certificates in Germany.
Well, I mean, the great thing is about starting something like the Reseller Show, the more people that are interested in this and the more of us of a community get together, the more it will give me and Andy a bit of leverage to go, look, Amazon, can we have somebody on the show for the evening and just talk about a specific topic? You know, that's certainly something that will potentially happen in the future. It's just a case of making ourselves noisy enough that somebody wants to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. If we come together as a community and there's enough of us together to ask the question, then generally that's when they start listening. So I'd agree with that. The power of the community is real. So definitely. Jerry's on the sausage rolls again now.
Oh no. Guys, you need to make the Reseller Show a 2-hour affair soon. There's just so much inflow flying around to get through. 2 hours. We should do. I tell you what, Andy. This is when we get to like the annual show or something, when it's like we turn 1 year old, we should do like a Reseller Show 24-hour marathon or something. Like we don't sleep. We don't sleep. All we do is we have tea, sausage rolls.
Tea and sausage roll marathon. I love it. Yeah, that would be cool. Yes, if anyone wondering what Jerry's going on about sausage rolls, I mentioned, what did we? I don't know how we ended up on that situation. We were talking about ideas for your warehouse deals day, and I suggested if you offered cups of tea and sausage rolls, then everyone would be there. I would definitely be there. And we were just talking about sausage rolls. Like, I really want sausage rolls now, so I went directly to my local co-op and bought some sausage rolls and had them for my dinner. I couldn't help it. So that was what happened last week. So yeah, that was.
Is that his 15-year-old son that made it into the new? I don't know whether he's in the Sun newspaper, but he's definitely in Forbes. And I spoke to his dad, and I said to his dad, because he's on YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel. This 15-year-old boy. He's called Alex, and Alex Phillip. That's the one.
Okay.
His dad's called Shabu Phillip. And Shabu came here, spent all weekend with Shabu, really nice guy. And his son did a fantastic job. So I've asked Shabu if his son is interested in getting on the YouTube channel. And just be fascinating to hear his story. So, but I don't know whether he was in the Sun newspaper, but it could well be. Alex Phillip.
Yeah, worth looking up for sure. Quite often, if one news agency picks up a story, it will be distributed amongst others, so it may well be the same story. But very interesting for sure. But have we got any more questions before we're up to the 58-minute mark again? It's gone very quickly as usual. So got any more questions before we wrap it up?
Jerry says take the Reseller Show around the country. That's definitely a long-term vision of ours. I know
cool.
Before we started the show, I think if you look back on the announcement video, I think we may have mentioned there that eventually at some point it would be fantastic to do this around different locations and see people in real life and do a show in person. Obviously, that's the long-term goal, and you've got to build towards something. So that's definitely what we'd like to do.
For sure. That would be very cool. That would be very cool indeed. All righty. Why don't we knock it on the head for this evening? We're at 59 minutes and 8 seconds exactly. We've had a good chat this evening. I've enjoyed it, and it's been good to try out the new YouTube platform. Hopefully, we'll be able to get our heads around it for next time. But yeah,
if you
Sam,
guys hit the like button. Thank you so much for that, Sam. Hit that like button, hit the bell button, share the show if you would. Obviously, the more people come into our community, the more conversation and the more opinions we get, and the more help that ultimately we have. So that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, yeah. Appreciate that, Sam. Thanks for reminding people. Hit the like button, and then yes, the notification bell will give you a shout out next time we're live. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, and thanks for the regulars, Jerry and Sam and Simon and Sean and everyone else in between for coming and joining us this evening. It's always good fun. Love hanging out with you guys. And for those of you listening, regular listeners on the podcast, I know you're there and you're enjoying it as well. So appreciate you as well. So, all right, guys, we'll wrap it up for this evening. Thanks again. And we'll catch you at the same time in the same place next week. Take care, guys.
See ya.